Since 2003, Big Cat Rescue has successfully rehabbed 6 Florida Bobcats and released them back into the wild. Right now I'm walking out to the rehab area. We don't currently have any Bobcats we're rehabbing for release. Obviously, if there was a Bobcat in the enclosure, I wouldn't be making all this noise. The enclosures are in a secluded area, away from the towpath and people. We want these cats to be as calm as possible while they're stuck in a cage, recovering from their injuries. On March 21st, 2011, we released our most recent rehab, Bellona, back into the wild. Bellona was struck by a car in November 2009, less than 10 miles from Big Cat Rescue. Luckily, a school bus driver spotted Bellona and contacted us. When we arrived on the scene, Bellona was obviously in shock. She was laying on the sidewalk, watching cars pass by. The moment we started to approach, she shot off into a small pocket of land which was sandwiched between roads and buildings. We could clearly see when she ran off that her back leg was broken, and this just goes to show how tough these little cats are, and how they've managed to survive in Florida, despite all the development pushing them out of their natural habitat. We searched the area for a long time, and finally I spotted her on the bank of a retention pond, and of course when I approached, she dove into the pond. This made my job of netting her a lot easier, and it was definitely refreshing. Once we were back on dry land, Bellona was rushed to be assessed. She eventually required 2 rounds of surgery, which cost us over $5,000. On the day of her rescue, she had her leg pinned back together and part of her bobtail amputated. Then months later it was decided she needed an additional surgery. We'd been observing her on the remote cameras and she wasn't putting all of her weight on the leg, which is crucial for bobcats when they're hunting in the wild. Bellona had managed to bend the pin in her leg, which created pressure in her kneecap, causing it to move side to side. The second surgery tightened the tendon on one side of her knee, helping to stabilise it. After all these surgeries, we began calling her Bellona the Bionic Bobcat. So this is a section of Bellona's old enclosure. She had lots of hiding places, natural surroundings, and as you can see, it was covered with a finer wire to make sure we had no escapes. To ensure that she survived on her own in the wild, we fed her a live prey diet as part of our rehabilitation program. In total it took 16 months of rehab, which included $1,200 of food and over 200 hours of animal care before Bellona was ready for life back in the wild. According to Florida law, bobcats have to be released back into the wild on a minimum of 40 acres within the same county they were found. Thanks to the kindness of a BCR supporter, Bellona was released back into the wild on a site more than 500 acres in size. She definitely didn't look back as she ran from the carrier, and it was great to see her finally heading back to where she belonged. Bobcats play such a critical role in the wild, it was definitely worth all the efforts of Big Cat Rescue staff and volunteers, as well as our donors and supporters to make this happen. And I'm sure Bellona is a happy, wild bobcat once again. You can help us change the way people treat big cats by texting the word tiger to 20222.